I was the best at what I did. The Schrödinger cat experiment is the beginning of the parallel world theory that I watched in Veritasium's video. The atom is in a superposition means that the cat in the box is both alive and dead at the same time. The atom being in a superposition is analogous to the decision being made or not. Whether all the actions in the world around the atom had been satisfied for it to be in one position or the other. If the atom is a flip of a switch, then in order for the atom to activate, all switches that would satisfy the activation of the atom have to be in their correct decided position. This has an effect on the notion of predestination. Ultimately, the atom follows what Allah commands it to follow, whether to be switched on or off. It is like considering that the will of the Creator is its own switch. We only command something to be and it is. Allah said that for every event it is Allah's will and decision, especially when it comes to the life or death of creatures that He created. It is a cat. It had committed no crime. So why would it be subject to such a test by humans? God had sent us to take care of the animals and to do what He would do, tend to them, feed them, and supervise their lives. And there is no beast living except that he has control over their head, sense of direction, intellect, decision-making ability, and even consciousness. And even if the humans and the jinn gathered together upon the mind of a single person, they would never get anything similar to the Quran, even if they supported one another. Subhanaka Rabbi Subhanak, Subhanaka ma a'zama shanak. It is somewhat similar to the concept of déjà vu. I think it is more like death and rebirth, like the concept that a person dies during their life and they are given one thing to change in their lives or multiple things. Astaghfiruka ya Allah, Subhanaka ya Allah. Yes, it does sound like the story of Job somewhat, death and rebirth. Mentally, upon having had his family removed from him in a single day. Maybe the story of Job, instead of being a tormenting act of a blameless person, was a way where God addressed Job's character and psychology. Although Job was tried in his family, he was steadfast in his belief. Yes, but it contained God's communication with Job, through teaching Job which questions he ought to or ought not to ask God. In the Quran, he admits that he has been touched by the influence of the devil, which could not have surpassed inciting him to speak evil against God. However, he did not. The Bible states that Job did not sin with his lips throughout the period of his trial or tribulation. It is like Job has sealed his own lips by refusing to speak falsely against God. The devil, however, still touched him. The Bible states that God allowed the accuser to touch his body and inflict sores on him, but at the same time, God prohibited taking his life. Satan can only incite and whisper to humans. When thinking about the story of Job, being thankful to God is a thing that jinn would question, saying, what would Job be thankful for? All throughout his conversation with his companions, he was, I'm watching Dark Matter series about Schrodinger's cat and living a different version of your life. This is why I'm writing about this. It is like people would be shown their life as though they are watching a movie. But when viewing it from the perspective of a different person, it is like being a witness or a watcher of their lives, analyzing the characters of the movie, being somewhat judgmental on them based on what they say. I know that the series and the movie is a fabrication. It is not an actual lived experience of a real person. It is a scripted idea that an author or a screenwriter came up with about the character. Yet, at the same time, it sounds interesting in the theory behind it. When actors watch themselves afterwards, do they think to themselves, I was the best at what I did? I'm more interested in analyzing people's characters and what they say, even if it is scripted. The actors would be speaking the lines rather than just reading them. When a person says a specific line that only a certain type of people who have arrogance would say, does this affect who they are as a person outside of the movie on screen? Should this also be called acting arrogant? Can a person act out a deadly trait like pride? Or is it an innate? It is not an innate. The original human was what is called a perfect human. He only had the good traits set to him by his creator, whereas the bad traits were acquired during his life. Doubt, pride, arrogance, lust, envy, greed, hatred, dread. Every one of those has a good connotation. Thank God he doesn't like me. God would not hate his own creation. أتي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يوما بلحم فرفع إليه الذراع وكانت تعجبه فنهس منها نهسا فقال أنا سيد الناس يوم القيامة وهل تدرون بما ذاك؟ يجمع الله يوم القيامة الأولين والآخرين في صعيد واحد فيسمعهم الداعي وينفذهم البصر وتدنو الشمس فيبلغ الناس من الغم والكرب ما لا يطيقون وما لا يحتملون فيقول بعض الناس لبعض ألا ترون ما أنتم فيه؟ ألا ترون ما قد بلغكم؟ ألا تنظرون من يشفع لكم إلى ربكم؟ فيقول بعض الناس لبعض ائتوا آدم فيأتون آدم فيقولون يا آدم أنت أبو البشر خلقك الله بيده ونفخ فيك من روحه وأمر الملائكة فسجدوا لك اشفع لنا إلى ربك ألا ترى إلى ما نحن فيه ألا ترى إلى ما قد بلغنا فيقول آدم إن ربي غضب اليوم غضبا لم يغضب قبله مثله ولن يغضب بعده مثله وإنه نهاني عن الشجرة فعصيته نفسي نفسي اذهبوا إلى غيري اذهبوا إلى نوح فيأتون نوحا فيقولون يا نوح أنت أول الرسل إلى الأرض وسماك الله عبدا شكورا اشفع لنا إلى ربك ألا ترى ما نحن فيه ألا ترى ما قد بلغنا فيقول لهم إن ربي غضب اليوم غضبا لم يغضب قبله مثله ولن يغضب بعده مثله وإنه قد كانت لي دعوة دعوت بها على قومي نفسي نفسي اذهبوا إلى إبراهيم صلى الله عليه وسلم فيأتون إبراهيم فيقولون أنت نبي الله وخليله من أهل الأرض اشفع لنا إلى ربك ألا ترى إلى ما نحن فيه ألا ترى إلى ما قد بلغنا فيقول لهم إبراهيم إن ربي قد غضب اليوم غضبا لم يغضب قبله مثله ولا يغضب بعده مثله نفسي نفسي اذهبوا إلى غيري اذهبوا إلى موسى فيأتون موسى صلى الله عليه وسلم فيقولون يا موسى أنت رسول الله فضلك الله برسالاته وبتكليمه على الناس اشفع لنا إلى ربك ألا ترى إلى ما نحن فيه؟ ألا ترى ما قد بلغنا؟ فيقول لهم موسى صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن ربي قد غضب اليوم غضبا لم يغضب قبله مثله ولن يغضب بعده مثله، وإني قتلت نفسا لم أؤمر بقتلها، نفسي نفسي. اذهبوا إلى عيسى صلى الله عليه وسلم فيأتون عيسى فيقولون: يا عيسى، أنت رسول الله وكلمت الناس في المهد، وكلمة منه ألقاها إلى مريم وروح منه، فاشفع لنا إلى ربك. ألا ترى ما نحن فيه؟ ألا ترى ما قد بلغنا؟ فيقول لهم عيسى صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن ربي قد غضب اليوم غضبا لم يغضب قبله مثله ولن يغضب بعده مثله، ولم يذكر له ذنبا، نفسي نفسي. اذهبوا إلى غيري، اذهبوا إلى محمد. فيأتون فيقولون: يا محمد، أنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، أنت رسول الله وخاتم الأنبياء، وغفر الله لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر، اشفع لنا إلى ربك. ألا ترى ما نحن فيه؟ ألا ترى ما قد بلغنا؟ فأنطلق فآتي تحت العرش فأقع ساجدا لربي، ثم يفتح الله علي ويلهمني من محامده وحسن الثناء عليه شيئا لم يفتحه لأحد قبلي، ثم يقال: يا محمد، ارفع رأسك، سل تعطى، اشفع تشفع. فأرفع رأسي فأقول: يا رب، أمتي أمتي. فيقال: يا محمد، أدخل الجنة من أمتك من لا حساب عليه من الباب الأيمن من أبواب الجنة، وهم شركاء الناس فيما سوى ذلك من الأبواب، والذي نفس محمد بيده إنما بين المصراعين من مصاريع الجنة لكما بين مكة وهجر، أو كما بين مكة وبصرى.